Hi, it's Micky Dolenz here. You're listening to Inspirado Projecto.
I recently played the game Luna, the Shadow Dust on my laptop. This is a game that's been in the making for 4 years, and I had the good fortune of interviewing Beidi Guo, the artist and co-creator of this game. It was a joy for me to be able to find out about the inner workings, the creation process, how she arrived at the artistic style that she came up with, what it was like to brainstorm with her fellow co-creators. So that interview was an hour and a half, so I split it up into two. So you're going to be able to hear the first part of our interview coming up next. Also, thank you, Micky Dolenz from TheMonkees. Thank you so much for your endorsement. You guys are also going to be able to hear Rob Broski from Twin Peaks. He played one of the woodsmen. He's going to have his 2 cents to say. And Henry D. Horse with a fun fact. So, thank you, everybody who has contributed. Thank you to the makers of Luna, the Shadow Dust, for creating such an extraordinary game that's going to ignite the imaginations across the nation as it continues to become available on more platforms, which I was very impressed to learn that they released it on Linux. That's a really smart move. Okay, folks, without further ado, by the way, if you want to contribute to this podcast, please, you can email us your audio. As you know, I like having various audioscapes on here. So let's say if you interviewed someone, if you have an interesting, the sound of your dog speaking gibberish, you know, I want to hear that. If you record the sound of you typing on a typewriter or washing the dishes, I don't care what it is, send me your audioscape to inspiradoprojecto@gmail.com. You can also call the hotline, leave a voice message. 561-203-9179. That's right, 561-203-9179. And without further ado, here is a new episode of Inspirado Projecto.
David Lynch personally started a campaign in Hollywood to get Laura Dern an Oscar nomination for her performance in Inland Empire. He sat on the side of the road with a cow during this campaign, which was, unfortunately, unsuccessful. Stay tuned to Inspirado Projecto for more fun facts.
Hello.
Hi, am I speaking with Beidi?
Yes. Hello, Kurt. How are you?
Hi, great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
So, I gotta say, I finished the video game, and wow, it is so much fun. It is such an extraordinary journey, and it has so much heart and authenticity to it, and
thank you.
the art is so good. You did the art for that, didn't you?
Yes.
You have a really unique art style.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that, because I heard lots of people, like everyone can see a kind of different style from Luna. Some of them say it's like Studio Ghibli vibe. Some of them pointing out other cartoons that I haven't even know before, but it's really interesting.
Oh, so interesting. Okay, so people are looking at your character and thinking that maybe you were influenced by other artists, maybe?
I am definitely influenced. I don't think I am that original myself. So my style definitely has observed consciously or subconsciously through so many different artists. And I can pinpoint few of them because I do study their art a lot, and they are my favorite artists.
Who are some of your favorite artists?
Yeah. Studio Ghibli film, I watch them when I grow up. I watch all of them. So I think the color palette, the kind of color we choose in this game were influenced by Studio Ghibli's film. It's not like too flashy. It's more slightly washed out, have a gender tone, like watercolor feeling towards it.
Yeah.
Oh God, there are so many. Let me think about them one by one. Have you heard of a guy? He's from Australia. He's called Sean Tan.
No.
He is an graphic novel illustrator. He mainly do graphic novels and not comics. Graphic novels. So I personally really love his work. I collect all his books, and quite a few of his books, he told a story without language as well. It's just picture and pictures. I guess I kind of pick up that technique. I studied how he did it that well. Try to see if we can use that in Luna.
I think it's interesting how the art that we create is, if you were to look at the ingredients of the art that we make, you do end up seeing the influences. I mean, we can't help it. We're growing up and we're excited about this particular artist or that particular artist, and in certain subtle ways you might finding yourself going, oh, this is a little bit like Picasso right now, or this is a little bit like Salvador Dali right now, and it's...
Yes, exactly. Like, no matter how unique, when we first trying to think an artist style is, but if you talk to them, they can always tell you who influenced them. Then if you continue the research to see the guy that has influenced him or her, you can see the traces. Sometimes sometimes I come across a style I think that's really, really unique, but probably years later I discovered who influenced them. Then I realized, that this kind of style definitely has been done before.
It's interesting how that could happen, because I like to draw as well, and it's interesting how you'll find yourself just inventing something, and maybe it's even an idea for something, and then you write this idea down, or you draw this quick little sketch, and then just like you're saying, you end up finding out that years before, maybe even decades before, maybe 100 years before, there was already some artist who drew that same type of thing, and you're just going, how the heck, that it's like accidentally predicting the past.
Yes, like we kind of inherited loads of things that we don't know.
Yeah. That
we has already within us.
Yeah.
Kind of just passed down through generations, like collective memory or knowledge or something.
Yes. Now, this seems to be a very I like the way that you're talking, because there is a lot of a spirituality about this game, which I really loved. There seem to be many little puzzles with within the pictures, within the art itself. Like, I loved it when there's a part where you're that little tiny dog creature, and you're kind of floating through the sky, through the stars, and all of a sudden pictures start taking shape, and you're going, ooh, what's the symbolism of this, or what's the symbolism of that? And now, did you, let's see, how did the process of this come about? Were you just friends with these people and you decided, let's make a video game, or how did that happen?
Okay, so we can talk us back like 4 years ago. There are 4 people in this team. Me, I'm the art director. Then Fox is the project manager. We have Wang Guan, who's our programmer. Also, the 4th member, Susie, she's our music composer. How we know each other is kind of, we are all friends of friends. Me and Fox were friends since high school, so we know each other for a very long time. And we've been always talking that probably one day when we grow up, we want to do something together, but that never happened. But finally, in around, I think, 2014, I had a little bit of free time aside of my work. I switching from 9 to 6 day job to freelancing. So all of a sudden, I have lots of time on my side. So then I start to, just out of interest, I start to doodle some game idea. I never even thought that I want to make a game in the future. It's just fun to design something. So I showed my ideas to Fox, he find this game quite interesting and has potential. So he asked me, do you want me to introduce someone to, like a programmer, and combine with your art, we can actually make a mini game for ourselves.
Wow.
So we are all like game players. We play a lot of games. So the idea of that, we can actually have something, have a story and make our own game. It's very interesting. It excites us.
It's very exciting. It sounds, when you hear a lot of these stories of these people who come up with, they invent these particular inventions or they create these things, it all stems from excitement and the willingness to explore the imagination. Doesn't it seem that way?
Yes, definitely. I don't know, have I introduced to you their background, like Fox and Wang Guan, at the time they were works in Ubisoft Shanghai. So they are in the industry already. They have been involved in big project from Ubisoft's project. But however, you really get a chance to make something by your own. In a big company like this, you really have a chance to even in charge of a project of your own.
Wow.
So the opportunity of you can have everything your say, decide, make every decision by yourself, and make these things into a game, regardless whether it's a big game or small game. I guess that excites everyone, every game lover, every game designers. So I guess that's why they were really excited to be on board, and the same as me.
That is so cool. Now, did you all brainstorm on the concept of this? The symbolism, the light versus dark, the shadows and the light. I mean, it's so cool how layered and textured this is.
The very original idea, probably it's even more abstract than the idea is based from one of my very old student film I did back in the uni. That's like 2007 we're talking about. So I had this animation. The story is about a man who pilots this moon as a spacecraft, and then his long distance relationship with his family. So that story has nothing to do with Luna, but I really like the two symbols in that short animation. One of them is the very tall tower. In that short animation, his family lives on the top of this tower. So every month when the spaceship he pilots, which is the moon, glide across the window, they had a short period of time of unite as a family.
Wow.
So I just really like the concept of you have a very tall tower, and also the idea you can do something with the moon. The moon is not as usual as we think it as a planet.
Yeah.
So I just think that these two ideas, I can develop them into something more interesting. It's rather a waste that I just left the story, undeveloped like that.
Yeah.
So that's the very, very original element I took from the animation. But it turns out the story, the whole story, the concept, the world setting of Luna, it's a team discussion result. We all throw our ideas into the story. We all come up with different concepts. Just try to see whether it fits. We had a folder. The folder is called Crazy Ideas, literally.
I love it.
In the very beginning, we just throw in all kinds of ideas.
That is great.
The brainstorming, yeah.
That's the key. Because you know what? When everyone feels free to go as crazy and as far and as absurd as they want with these ideas, it's just great because it just keeps feeding more and more ideas. It just keeps giving such a great energy. Have you noticed that with your brainstorm sessions?
Yes, definitely. Like, I really like the fact that different ideas, probably as individual, it doesn't work. But when you combine these two together, it grow out to something even better than you expected. Like the idea they bounce off, probably will think, okay, this one definitely doesn't sound like we can achieve that. But we don't just chuck it away. We tuck them into the corner.
Right.
Probably years later, all of a sudden we realize we have the ability to to achieve that, then we will bring the idea back into the game just to see whether we can fit them.
I love it. It's such a great idea because those ideas. I don't know about you. It sounds to me you have a similar feeling towards ideas as I do. All of the ideas, I write them down in the books. I started my podcast with that. Just put my ideas in there. Just going, okay, this is going to be my diary. This is going to be my journal. All my ideas going right in this thing so I could document it. And it's interesting because all those ideas I feel such an allegiance to. They are my little babies, and I feel very responsible for trying to make sure that they all get a chance to be heard and or seen in some way. Do you feel that same way with your ideas?
Yes, I have a notebook. I sometimes record my idea because I can't find a pen, but I just feel like the idea is going to slip away if I don't record it. So when I'm an illustrator, but sometimes when you need a pen, you just can't find it. This has always happened in my life. Yeah. So I definitely like to record every single thought of me, no matter how weird they seem at that time, because you don't know that what it's gonna become in the future.
Yeah. I mean, and it could become something so completely dynamic that it's another chapter that unfolds that you didn't even realize was there. And you go back to the archives of your ideas and you go, whoa, now that would be a great centerpiece for this particular story here. And, had you thrown that away or, there are no bad ideas, just unexplored ideas, And so when we explore them, you just start finding some really interesting stuff in there. I just love it.
Yes, this is exactly what happened to the early development of Luna. I kept all my sketchbook, things from my childhood. I don't throw away any of my drawings or my sketchbook away. So it just one day I was doing some house cleaning, I guess. I accidentally found out one of the sketchbook I had in the uni during the time I was making the animation. So I did loads of sketches back then. I completely forgot I even had it, but I'm so glad that I found them. So I sit down and read through my design process of making the animation. Then I just realized, I really like the thing that I draw at the time. Probably in 2007, I just started learning animation, loads of idea in my head. I don't have the ability to turn them into something better at that time. But now I have the ability now. I have some years of training, so the idea wasn't bad. So why not do a remake version of that?
Wow, how fun and exciting. So it started out as a little, like a little piece of clay that maybe you messed around with a little bit. You're like, okay, there's a little clay, and someday I'll know exactly how to chisel that thing and how to turn that into something. And sure enough, now you're able to go back in there and go, okay, let's see you the rest of the way here. Let's take you across the bridge here. It feels so satisfying and so exciting when that happens because, it's so interesting. What is old to us, anything that's old to us, our old drawings, our old songs, our old, poems, whatever, what is old to us is brand new to somebody else at some point because, let's say you bring out something that's 20, 30 years old that you got back there in your archives. To you, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know what I was doing, or, I was so much, I'm so much better now, or whatever the sentiments are. You bring it out to someone who has no idea that thing ever existed in the first place, and now it's this brand new thing to them. This,
Yes, I completely agree, and that's why I really love to buy. Sometimes the artists, they sell their collection of their sketches as a book. So it's all those drawings that they did when they are young, and I'm very happy to see that they share the same idea as me. Or we are hoarders. We don't throw away stuff, and it's really exciting to look at some very famous artists, look at their work when they were young. So because you know who do they become, and you can clearly see some very early influence from their very early work, and you just feel like, wow, he already had that thought at the time, but he didn't know.
It's so fun because you get to actually see the process of that taking shape. You see the mind at work. And you see, okay, in this next phase of their life, maybe they played more with this aspect. Maybe there are more tentacles in their creatures, than ever before. And they went through their tentacle phase, and all of a sudden now we see that they're putting legs on these creatures with tentacles. Oh, okay, now they're going in that phase, and you can kind of see, oh, now they're in their ears phase. They're drawing things with a lot of ears on, And it's so interesting, even when we look back on our own stuff, how we can see how. I remember the moment in time when I was watching a G.I. Joe cartoon, and I noticed that they drew cheekbones on the guys. And so then I went through a cheekbone phase. I still am in that phase. I still love just drawing cheekbones. But ever since I learned from G.I. Joe watching that, and to go zip, zip, make those little cheekbones, I couldn't stay away from it from that point forward. Everything had to have cheekbones. So it's interesting.
Yes, I guess for everyone, like this phrase things, and especially like I think I can tell a pattern of myself now. Like when I first discover this new style, like which I learned from any other artist, I obsess with it. Like I draw cheekbones or something else for years on all my character. But then you will pass that phrase, so you start to dislike the phrase that you just passed.
Right,
like,
yeah.
That's good. That's rubbish, and I never want to do anything like this anymore. But then give it another couple of years.
Yeah.
When you look back at those cheekbone periods, you realize that it is very valuable to you because it might change the way that you design your character in the future.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's so fun when you see an artist that kind of sets into their style. Like I remember as a kid growing up, I'd look at those Garfield. Do you remember those Garfield they were like little comics? There was a whole bunch of series of them. So I loved those, and it was interesting because you could see the evolution of how Garfield was drawn through the years. Did you notice that?
In the beginning, I think Garfield was quite stiff.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It was not as chubby as the Garfield that we remember.
Right.
As Snoopy as well. The character changed so much.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's so great that you noticed that, too, because when I was a kid looking at that going, hey, there's something a little different now. In this book, he looks a little bit different. I can't put my finger on it. And before you know it, he sculpted into it. And then once Jim Davis, once he got a hang of that kind of became his... he had to go through all those other little phases to kind of help chisel that thing into what that has become. I like your art style where it's interesting. I was admiring how the nose is like a little rectangle, and it's an elevated. It's like a little elevated rectangle.
Lots of people say it looks like a switch button.
Oh, it does look like a switch button. Yeah, it does look like a switch button. I just like that choice, and how it's got the little guy has rabbit ears, because it's funny because he goes down the rabbit hole, and so in a sense he becomes the white rabbit in the Alice in Wonderland type of thing. It kind of reminds me of.
Oh, yeah. Now you mentioned that. I think Alice in the Wonderland, this classic story, well, I will not say that I was directly influenced by that, but so many other films, almost every single adventure films, was somehow more or less influenced by the idea of Alice in the Wonderland. So I got influenced by those films, so no wonder you can see this kind of creativity.
And it's so great. I mean,
that we took,
Oh, it's so fun because there's that part where he's walking across the books and all those camera angles. It's so impressive how it'll start zoomed in on something and then it keeps revealing more and more of what's there in the scene. And you're like, oh, I didn't know that little door was hiding over there, or oh, what's that little thing? I didn't see that before. And every room I went into, I moved my cursor everywhere. I was hoping, okay, what can I open? What's going to happen here? And that was the other cool thing about this game, is that there wasn't any dialogue going on, and you still learned, you still figured out what you needed to do just based on looking at patterns. And it was fun being able to kind of go, okay, what's the pattern here, and how can I apply it towards what's going on? It felt like the art that was going on around the character was actually a direct metaphor for what the character needed to do in order to get out of that room. And so it was really interesting how you all put it together.
I think we in the very beginning we have this discussion that whether we want to put any dialogue or any text, because if we decide to go that decision, it's gonna make our life a lot easier in a way. By choosing the hard way, doing this thing the hard way, one of the reasons I think came from my very early experience of gaming. As you know, English is not my first language. When I was young, I don't speak English that well, but I still get hold of some game that has English dialogue in it. But those games, they designed in a way so good that it doesn't necessarily require me to understand every single line. I can tell the story, I can understand the story through their characters, motion, their like just the music sometimes helps a lot. So I think this is something achievable in game design or in any kind of art form, that you can actually tell a story well if you try hard enough to deliver the kind of emotion that you want to deliver to your audience. Also, I like it the way that it leaves me a lot of space to let my imagination run wild. Like when I actually can't read those English dialogue, I have to use my imagination to like guess what was the gap, which bits are they talking about here. And I do enjoy those experiences.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me to not knowing the exact answer.
Yeah, it lets the audience, like you're saying, it lets the audience fill in the blanks and almost make that story. Everybody's going to have a different sort of story in their brain as to what's going on. Yeah, sure, the nuts and bolts are there, the skeleton is in a sense there, but what are all those little meaty bits that are hiding in there? What's the because there was no dialogue, and I'm looking at these symbols, and like, man, I just loved it when you go into the book, and it's so cool, and you have to figure out what they want. Okay, what does this character want from me, and what do I need to do? How do I get it? And it's
in order to, because we fully aware that if we don't have any dialogue, then it will be confusing. Yes, and this is a challenge that we have to face. We can't just leave it there and say, let the people figure out.
Right.
We can't do that. So we did spend a lot of time thinking, without using dialogue, is there any way that we can give player hint? So the solution we come up with that since from the very first level, we're trying to encourage our player to look more, to listen more,
I love it.
Instead of clicking around. So we're trying to reduce the kind of object that you can click, because if everything is clickable, that people will focus more on the interaction instead of the observation.
That's good.
For example, the level that you have to follow the rabbit they point to, am I spoiling anything? Like the room that you have to figure out the relationship between the painting and the moon.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah, it has nothing to interact. So it forces the player to look, because they feel frustrated in the beginning. They feel like there's nothing I can click, so what am I supposed to do? Then it kind of forced them to use the sense that we should have used, but because of we've been playing games for so many years, we kind of train ourselves to be drawn towards buttons. But now all of a sudden you're being thrown back to a different game that don't even have a button, so you have to feel okay, what else do we left? We have our eyes, so there are pictures, there are things on the wall. Then let's just have a look at the pictures, see is there any clue that the designer left us there. So this is one of the ways that we know it's gonna be challenging and it not be your everyday puzzle game. So it kind of forced the player to play our game in a slightly different mindset. But we build those levels early stage, so we hopefully that they get the idea. So in the later stage, the player, it's kind of a tutorial as well.
Right.
So they understand, okay, this game is not a very, it's not one of those you click everywhere game. So you do have to look, and when you did look, you can actually find a hint.
Yeah, and the soundtrack is so good because it tells you to pay attention to certain sounds too, and make those correlations between when you click on this thing and it makes a sound, to pay attention to that, and when you click on that, it makes a different sound. Well, what does that mean? And then you have to kind of put these pieces together, and I love just what you said about it's all in a sense a tutorial about what's coming up next, because you do see your hand, it's like you hold the player's hand for a little bit in a sense by going, okay, here's a little something, here's something that's a possibility. And because that if you learn this little skill, let's say for instance when the little guy goes into the shadows, I love that. You earlier on you learn, oh, this is something that can be done, and then so that okay, that's a skill that I might need in the future at some point. I don't know when, but it's just kind of filed away back there in your brain. And so when you do come across that possibility to do it, you're like, oh, I forgot I forgot I could do this. Here's a little trick I forgot I had, and then it's this extra reward that you didn't expect was hiding there. So whatever you did, it's working, because you must have just had so much fun hiding the little art up on the walls and going, okay, this is going to be the thing. If they look at this, then they'll know this is how they fix this thing.
Yeah, yes, we we also don't want to hide it like too deep, because that just defeats the purpose of become a hint to the player. So there's a fine balance. We have to make sure that it blends into the surrounding well, so it feels like authentic. It's there naturally, rather than something we forced upon. But also it needs to be reasonably easy to understand. So music helps a lot as well, and we also use loads of special effects. Say, if this is a hint that you get, then you use this hint to pass this level. It gives you a feedback. It flashes or something, it changes color to tell you that you did something right.
Yeah, it's it's also a really fun feature that you could just hit the space bar and all of a sudden you bounce between the two characters, and then timing like I got the hang of the idea that I could have the rabbit ear guy walking and then hit the space bar and immediately use the other little guy while the other guy was still walking. So the other guy was still walking, and meanwhile I can get something done with the little guy. And so once I kind of learned that I could do that, it opened up all these new possibilities to me, because especially when I was jumping around in the shadows, when the little dude's jumping in the shadows there, and I had to time.
You had to switch pretty quick.
Certain things, I had to do, close this drawer or whatever, and here comes the crow, So there were so many little intricacies in there that were hiding in there, that once I got the hang of them, it was such a huge victory. It felt so good just to get it right in that groove.
Oh, that feels good. So that means our design worked, because we thought about all the possibility that, especially that level you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's not one of the easy one. I think it has certain challenges. Especially with the action, because our game overall it's not an action-based game.
Right.
But in that particular level, there are quite a few action involved. You have to switch between characters and stuff. So we did a lot of tests on the level. We show it to different player, and we just a speed of how quick those shadows pop down, and how fast you can react. Because think about it, if we show this level to a guy who's very good at action game, he's gonna pass the level in no time. But if we show it to someone who never played any action game, like casual player or like my parents probably, so they will find this level really, really hard. So we have to do a lot of tests and draw something in the middle. We have to adjust the time. And also we find it quite interesting. We expect everyone to use a mouse and probably a keyboard in front of them to play the game. But we didn't know a lot of people play games with mouse trackpad.
Like on my laptop, I got the little square thing, so I'm zipping my finger along on this thing.
It's not the best tool to play game, but we can't stop people using that. That's their choice. And we even learn people play game with a Wacom tablet and a pen.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
Wow.
based on this research, we have to adjust the time to think, okay, if you play this level on a mouse trackpad, everything will seem too fast and too difficult.
Oh boy.
We might need to reduce the time a bit.
I'm glad you guys did that, because I did find some trickiness with that. But then it was right around that corner where I was like, oh my gosh, can I move my finger fast enough? And where's the mouse on the screen? You know, it was just like right when I realized.
Enough time.
Yeah, it gave me just enough time when I realized that I could have one little guy move while the other guy still did something else. And all those revelations came together at the same moment. And
Yes.
it was very helpful.
This level is definitely very, very challenging, and people fail a lot. They have to try a couple of attempts. Averagely, they have to try probably 3-4
Oh
times.
my God, yeah.
To reach the end. So that's why we put this level right in front of the cutscene. So it kind of, the cutscene serves the purpose of a reward.
Oh yeah.
So you tried so hard on this level. Now you passed. Here you go. That's the reward.
That is so cool. That is so cool. I mean, just the idea of being able to go into the shadows and to explore those realms, it's such a neat idea. It's such a cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it has such an interesting spiritual aspect about it, and you see things that are earlier in the game, you know, paintings on the walls and stuff like that. It's interesting how you see it come back through the higher you climb this tower. You see these things, you know, reemerge, like the sort of the crow. There's like the crow-faced kind of god, or scholar. I just remember he has like a bird face, and they each have their own personalities, and I could only imagine that there's a far deeper thing going on. Almost as if, I mean, do you guys have enough material to write a book, for instance?
I think we do. The thing is, even within the game, there's limited space. There's only that much of a background of the story, the lore of the story we can show. But we have to think about everything before we start making the game. We write down the story, we design what's the religion's gonna be in this world, that what's the background story of these characters, like what's the real relationship, and if there's a civilization in that world, what kind of civilization would it be? How similar would that civilization compare with our human civilization? Are they aliens? Are they gods? Or spirits? So we have to think about all of this, even they don't get to show in the game, because otherwise, if your setting of the world is not complete enough, there will be holes that people can pick up, and then you will find yourself try to. There's a term in China called, you ensemble one word to fill up a hole on the other word. So we can't do that. So we have to make sure the foundation of the story is solid. At least the setting, or the aspect, we have to sort it through properly. That whether people are gonna question this, whether they think there's some logic mistake here. Even nobody never gonna ask probably in the future, but we have to assume that people will be questioning this.
This, I mean, I'm imagining this could totally become a series of books. This could become graphic novels. It's just got such a deep. There's so much going on in there that I could completely imagine being wonderful companions to this video game. Are there any plans on releasing the soundtrack? Because that's a really good soundtrack.
Yes, on Steam you can already find the digital art book and soundtrack of the game.
Wow. Luna the
and
Shadow.
And also we're thinking to, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, go on.
Later we're thinking to probably have a physical version of this art book published.
Oh, that's
and
great.
Within the physical version, we probably can include bit more material that like some
Wow.
of the level we throw away, but we kept all those drawings, so probably we chuck into the book.
Oh, that's cool. Is there?
Yeah, only 2/3 of all those crazy ideas get to be made. So we have still a lot of them lying around there. We still love those ideas. Some of them seems pretty cool to us, but unfortunately, we either don't have the ability to achieve them, or they doesn't really fit, or they are the same idea but just two versions, so we only can choose one. So there are a lot of level design idea like this.
Wow. Do you now, with all these ideas, do you have plans on? Are you already? Is your team already brainstorming on other games that you're going to start working on together?
Oh, not yet, not yet. I think at the moment our current focus will be to try to bring this particular game onto different platforms.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so like Nintendo Switch, loads of people ask us, are you going to make a console version of this game? And we think also this game might be very fun if you can play it on iPad. So these are the next task for us to, like porting this game onto different kind of platforms.
Wow, how cool. I mean, I can already imagine action figures. I can imagine, beach towels.
Plushie toy.
Absolutely. Plushie toys.
It's gonna be so cute. Yes.
Oh, what do they call those? Are those? What do they call those? The little guys, like Funko? No, is that what they're called? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the little plastic. They got like square.
What do you call those models?
Yeah, I just imagine those those kinds of guys. This just has such a crazy world to it, and I just love how everything is alive in there. It took me forever to try to figure out. I had to really look at the pictures on the ceiling, with the seasons.
That's good.
With the seasons.
That's exactly we feel really rewarding when we see player that they doesn't just rush through each level. After even when the door unlocked, they still stay around, walk around in the room and try to have their own interpretation of the story, which is such a lovely thing to see, because this is exactly what excited us when we see something like art. Sometimes I go to church. I'm not religious myself. I don't have a religious background, but I find myself being very drawn towards those stained glasses. They have like a biblical story drawn on it. I don't 100% understand them. I guess that's the beauty. If there's a textbook written on the window, probably I won't keep going back and just to check them out over and over, because they are vague, they are mysterious. But I can understand part of them, but not all of them. So it keeps drawing me back to read more. And when I was young, say for example, when I was very young, when I saw the image of Jesus Christ on the cross, it is a very horrifying image to me as a young kid.
Oh yeah.
So, but when I grow up, when I understand the story, when I learn the history, when I look at the picture again, it gives me a different feeling. So it's the same picture, but I grow up. My experience changed.
Yes.
So when you go and revisit the same place, your experience changed as well. So this is kind of my personal experience, but I find it very interesting, and I think this is a universal feeling for everyone who go to galleries and go to the museum and stuff. So a game is just another media. So I would like to see whether we can achieve that similar feeling within a game.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. It's like I remember as a kid, whenever I'd see movies, teenagers were like, holy cow, wow, a teenager, it seemed like this plateau to reach, like, holy cow, a teenager, and then And then I would associate with the younger kids in the movies, and then when I got to be a teenager, I associated with the teenagers in the movies, and then
Yes.
as I got to be older, closer to a father's age, I'm associating with the fathers of the movies and seeing it from that perspective. So it's really it's so interesting when you do see that and you revisit those movies and you go and you watch a movie and you realize, holy cow, that's a joke that I never got before,
Yes.
until I started working at the post office, or whatever. Like, okay, I started working at the post office. Oh, now I get that joke,
Yeah,
Whereas,
and sometimes when a joke, when you think there was a joke when you were young, later on you realize it's not a joke. It's a very sad fact or something.
right? Oh, yes.
People are making into a joke so they can try to forget about it or laugh at it or something.
Yes.
So you understand that character even more, which is when you're a young age you will never be able to.
Wow.
This is Robert from Twin Peaks, and you're listening to Inspirado, Projecto. Got a light?
I would like to introduce you to a fine piece of fashion. Look at the meat clown shirt. You can wear it, you can use it as a bib, you can wipe all the barbecue sauce with your hand, it'll wash, it'll come clean. The meat clown shirt, my phone rang too. The meat clown shirt, available for sale any place where I find meat byproducts is sold. If you would like to get one of these shirts and can't make it down to the store, we will deliver it to your house. The phone number is 213-537-8459. Now y'all take care and enjoy the meat byproduct.